San Jose Sharks. Will the Sharks finally trade Erik Karlsson? That was obviously one of the biggest topics of the trade deadline. Didn't happen, and he's going to be a very tough player to trade, even if he wins the Norris Trophy this year. And whether or not you agree with that, but with him, I think that's going to be a really tough guy to move.
Yeah, with Frank Cervalli's trade target board, which was on Daily Faceoff last week, he did mention that, this is the best opportunity that Mike Greer is going to get to move Erik Karlsson coming off a 100-point season, first defenseman to do it in 31 years. I think it's not necessarily impossible because he's reached that peak value compared to picture what Erik Karlsson's value was a year ago. He was the injury prone guy who was completely a shell of what he used to be. Now all of a sudden it's, oh my God, he's coming off a legendary season. He was healthy. So he still actually has a lot to offer a team if he can be healthy again next year. So I do think there is a window where maybe the Sharks drop their asking price a little bit and a team finds a way to make the money work. If it's going to happen, I think it's this offseason. So we'll see. But it's a very fantasy relevant question because you could make a case that Erik Karlsson has never played on a truly elite team in his career. If you look at the best Ottawa Senators teams he played for, none of them were really dominant teams. Yes, there was the one team that made it to the conference final in 2017, but they were more of an underdog kind of Cinderella type team. He's never played on a team that was an absolute powerhouse. Even when he became a San Jose Shark, that team is on its way down as well. So what if a major contender goes out and gets Erik Karlsson? I don't know what that can mean for his fantasy value. He's never played with like elite scorers all around him, right, in his career, elite scorers in their primes. So that could really change his fantasy ceiling. On the other hand, if you're more of a pessimist, you could say, actually, Karlsson was just padding his stats all season long. He had nothing else to play for, so he was going for broke, which is why his defensive numbers were so bad. He was selling out for the 100 points. That might be true as well. But either way, it's going to be very interesting to see where he goes because I do think if he's a Shark again going into next season, the odds of repeating what he did this year are pretty low. But I'd be very intrigued if you end up seeing him just on a dominant team.
My guess here is just a total statistical thing is I think he's going to fall to 72 points next year. And I think that'll still be really good. Again, this is a guy that played a lot of meaningless hockey this year. And a lot of times when you get meaningless hockey, you'll get these offensive defensemen that will go out there and just put up a lot of points and forget to play in their own zone. And I'm a little worried about that in the NHL draft with a few guys. But you look at was it Erik Gustafsson a couple years ago with the Blackhawks goes and gets 56 points. And it's like the Blackhawks were a terrible team. It's like, how did that happen? And it was because, just again, a lot of meaningless points. Now, points are points. It's good to get those. But I think if he goes somewhere, a better team, he's not going to be having to play the same minutes. He's not going to have the same responsibility. And, they might actually have a defenseman who could help him out there. So I don't know if he's going to get the same points, but I think that, he's going to be, if he is traded, a valuable piece. It's just, San Jose is going to eat a lot of that contract and it's got to be worth it. But I think Carlson's not done. I think, again, 72 points would be great. A number I just completely made up out of the air. But I think that it's someone where it would still be a guy that would bring a lot of value wherever he went.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like, I could see a scenario in which Karlsson ends up overrated in fantasy if he's traded. Like, if he's traded to a team that has a lot of hype around it, like, let's say, just, I don't know, I'll throw an example. Let's say Pittsburgh goes out and gets him, something like that. Just there'll be a hype factor that I think will make him overdrafted. So that's why this is an important question. Just depending on where he goes, it's going to make him a potential landmine in fantasy drafts next year.
And you just got to hope that the people you're playing against in fantasy are not thinking about regression whatsoever. They got to think that this guy is on the up and up. But maybe they think this guy is peaking now and is
Yeah.
may even actually go higher. Who knows? I doubt it.